So the last intervention we did was in the spring, which you guys saw. We did one in the summer, which felt kind of like an emergency. We had to remediate some of the problems that were going on. We didn't show that, but I will tell you guys about it in this video. So now we're here in the beginning of autumn. We're going to be doing another intervention today and let you guys know what's been going on, the good, the bad, and everything else. So in the last video, I asked you guys your opinion on this tree. It had all yellow leaves and you guys were great. You gave lots of comments, ideas of what it could be. I did do some stuff to kind of fix that, as well as do the same thing to all the other trees, because we were sort of getting the same problem, but with this tree, it was really bad. As you can see, these leaves are turning green. They probably were more green like a little while ago, a month ago, but now it's starting to get hungry again. It's gonna want another dose of some food. But it's still looking green. I'm really happy. For a while, it was really bothering me. I was losing sleep over it. Why is this tree doing so bad? But I did find the cause, and it's something that probably no one expected. I know I didn't. So the problem that it was probably was some nutrient deficiency, but not because the nutrients weren't there. What was going on is the whole soil around it was super dry. It was like almost hydrophobic. And there's a few reasons I think that happened. When I put the soil down for these rows here, the first one that I did, there was probably a little more cinder than there should have been. And I kind of fixed it over the course of the other rows. So maybe that was a problem, maybe not. The second is that all these rows, the dirt is mounded. They're not getting as wet as, you know, the rain is probably coming off of them like this. And the third thing, which probably was a big part of this, was the mulch I was using. Was all these crotallarias was sort of like make a tarp. So when it was raining, hitting that barrier there and just rolling off. And then over time being so dry, it almost became hydrophobic, because sometimes when you have compost, and maybe even I had some unfinished compost in here, it gets kind of waxy. And when it dries, it takes a lot of moisture to rehydrate that. So when I got in there, I started digging around. It was actually just bone dry. And I mean, you get all sorts of nutrient deficiencies when the roots aren't able to take up, because they're just really dry. So what did I do to fix this? Well, it was not easy, and it took a lot of time and a lot of sweat and getting in there. I basically dug a moat around each tree, maybe like a foot deep. I didn't like get into where the root ball was when it was in the bag or the pot. I just kind of dug a moat around them, foot deep, maybe a foot wide. Then I took all that soil, put it in a wheelbarrow, mixed that with some more just straight Hamakua soil to get the ratio of cinder to soil a little bit more heavy on the soil. And I also just put in a bunch of amendments that I didn't initially do. And that was another thing I want to tell you guys. When I first planted all these trees, I just kind of put the Hamakua soil, cinder, and compost. And I thought Syntropic is the answer to everything. And once you start to grow this way, you don't need to use as many amendments and stuff. And I think the trees really suffered because I didn't really have that placenta period where you have all your support species growing before you bring in your main trees. I just put the main trees in at the same time. And because I did that, I probably should have just started with the best soil I possibly could. But that's what I had to do, kind of dig around and improve the soil, as well as just mix everything in. The last thing I did was cover it with the county mulch or wood chips, something like that. Something that when the rain hits it, it just kind of trickles through, and not a leafy mulch where it could act as a tarp. So that was really a big fix there, was just using a different kind of mulch, something that the rain can penetrate and just trickle down instead of hitting and then shedding off. This being on a mound too, it really just kind of, I think the rain was just going off because it was raining so much during this time. Like there's no way the soil could have been dry. It was like crazy. So I'm just checking the soil here now, and it looks great. It's holding moisture right under the mulch here. Looks really nice and moist, not muddy, but definitely wet. This was bone dry when I checked it the first time to see what was going on. Now it looks great. So one thing we're going to be doing in this intervention is probably taking out most of the crotal area. It's really not a long-term mulch crop. It tends to die off quick, especially when you are chopping it a lot. The main issue, I think, is it has these hollow stems. So when it rains, water gets in. They don't really rebound nicely and heal up all the cuts they've made. So they don't last a very long time doing something like this. And I think another main issue was that we were cutting them before they really reached their full maturity, starting to flower and put seed off. So we're kind of cutting them, and it was because they were too close to the citrus. They were really just getting in there and smothering the citrus too much. So we had to cut them before they were actually ready to be cut, if that makes sense. So by cutting them a lot, I think it eventually they kind of give up because they're like, I'm just keep getting cut. They're not able to put all the energy into the ground like they would have and rebound using that energy. It's all right though. They served their purpose for us. They've been here for a year and a half. They've produced lots of mulch, lots of food for our trees, but they have to go. We're gonna probably not be able to replace them so much in some areas. In other areas we can, because we have the room. In between these rows, there's really not enough room to put another mulch crop row, because I do like to keep it wide enough to mow through here. We'll just have to make up for the mulch and plant it in other areas and maybe bring it over here. But I'm not totally opposed to just using the county mulch or wood chips that we make for these trees. I know it's not a syntropic way, you know, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to make sure the trees that you really want are healthy. So the crotal area we have in the tree rows is different than the one we have in our mulch rows. The one we're going to be phasing out and getting rid of, it was too close to the fruit trees, is also the one that's hollow, and it's very leafy, you can see. And the other one we have is much different. You can see the leaves are different. This one is not hollow in the middle, and it's also pretty wild here in Hawaii. So it grows really easily. These seed pods will fall on the ground and just resprout. This one is one that we got from Hawaiian Sanctuary, and we've just kept propagating it here. This one you could get in the Hamakua soil just as seed. It'll just pop up. So this one is, I think, a little bit better in the sense that it grows a lot easier here. So here you could see what I'm talking about. This one has a hollow inside, this one not so hollow. These are also just a lot woodier for the same diameter. You can see this one's still green. So this is definitely going to last a lot longer for you as mulch, it being more woody and solid. But they both have served a purpose here. This one's time is over. They just don't last as long. This other one is still looking pretty good and healthy. So it's going to stick around, and we may even use more of this in this system here. So here's something that's really working out great for us. It is kind of like this row of albizia that is serving as an overstory, creating a lot of nice dapple shade. And when we come in here and do these interventions, we're able to harvest a lot of leaf and stick mulch from them. This is something that planted itself. We have this giant albizia over here from our neighbor's yard, and when we first planted and cleared, I noticed a lot of small ones coming up, and I was kind of really excited to just let them grow on their own and then kind of clear out a path where they were also growing, but I didn't want them to be. So I left this row here, and it kind of worked out perfect. They're all like in the perfect spot, and you know, I've culled out the ones that I didn't want, and I left the ones that were in a good spot. So they're about 1.5 inch diameter now, a lot of them, and say maybe 10-15 feet tall, which is kind of where I want to keep the height of them, around 10-15 feet, maybe even 20. I have a lot of room to drop them this way without affecting the citrus trees. They're not going to get in the way. It's not going to be a hard thing to do. So I plan to just leave these here, let them grow, use them as mulch. They're also nitrogen fixing trees. It's not something I would suggest planting, but because we had this tree just planting them for us, it worked out great. Some of the best mulch comes from Albizia and other trees like Albizia. So right here we're in the row that I planted all the bananas. They're getting very big now. We have racks on 3 out of 4, which is really nice. These bananas weren't just planted to get the fruit though. We did plant them to harvest some mulch. So I will be culling some of these. There's more than we need. I really like to just grow 1 rack per spot here and just use the rest for mulch. So I'm going to be cutting some of these, using the logs, splitting them, using them as mulch, as well as fertilizing with a mixture of Nutri-Rich and our homemade biochar chicken manure blend, which is something I didn't plan on doing in the beginning. had the more purist mindset, but after seeing the plants respond to the intervention last time where I changed the amendments and put county mulch, I'm not going to be so dogmatic anymore and try to be a purist just using mulch. We are going to be using amendments, fertilizers, mulch from county mulch or something like wood chips that we make. This part of the property was to intentionally grow food to sell. So with that in mind, I really don't want to waste time and try to be a purist and not keep these trees really healthy because it's important for us. So we're all finished here with our intervention. A couple things I wanted to mention now that it's all done, what I did here. We did end up taking out a lot of that crotalaria, especially around the citrus trees. We left some that wasn't too close. Just gonna let them give us another crop of mulch next time. We did end up using the county mulch around the citrus trees and around all the pineapple, which was good because we were able to use all the mulch from our mulch crops in other places where eventually the roots would be. So this whole bit right here that's about 2 to 4 feet from the tree is going to start producing good soil for the future of this tree. The roots probably aren't here yet, but they will be eventually. So we're going to start improving the soil here with all the mulch that we've grown and saving the premium stuff just for around the trees and for right now around the pineapples. Not sure if I'll do that every time. Another thing we did for the first time was thin the bananas, which was also nice. I was able to maybe take out 4 or 5 good sized ones and line the whole bed over there with banana trunks. The last thing I did was put in a row of Mexican sunflower. They're spaced about 2 feet apart in this row that's about 40 feet long. They're spaced 5 feet away from the tree, so I think we'll have plenty of room. Similar to what I did on the other side of the bananas. Those were, I think, 6 feet. I figured we could go a little bit closer, so we'll see how that works out. But I think there'll be plenty of room to be able to walk through here. So that's the goal, to be able to harvest from this side and just lay down in this path all the mulch we get from here and continue to just build the soil over here. So everything's coming out great now that we're back on track. These citrus have really good soil now. So at some point in the winter, we're going to be doing another intervention. It'd be great if you guys could leave comments down in the comment section what you guys want to see. You got any questions I can answer in that video. If you guys aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and like this video because it really helps and we like it.
Like this video if you like it.